Chapter 44. The Purple Garland and the Double-Edged Axe. Could the role that women played in the processions of the goddess reveal another side of the mystery? The women of the goddess. Women not only took part in the goddess's parades, but also displayed her power to blur, break, and switch the lines of gender, but from the other side. As the parading men assumed traditionally female roles, the parading women assumed traditionally male roles. It is never explicitly spoken, but the idea of lesbianism was always implicit. If under Ishtar's power women could take on the roles of functions of men, then taken to its ultimate conclusion, that would include the role and function of husband or lover. It was implicit in Ishtar's androgyny. In nature, temperament, and role, she was as masculine as she was feminine. She transformed herself from female to male and back again. This again would imply the altering of her desire. So, though it was never overt, lesbianism was always implicit in the goddess's crossing of gender and sexuality. It was there, as well, among Stonewall's patrons. Though making up a small component, women were among them. It was there the night it all began, when a lesbian in handcuffs incited the uprising against the police, and it was there afterward in the gay pride parades where lesbians had made up a large part of the participants. Sign of the two Ishtars. But could there be more that joins the modern revival of lesbianism to the ancient goddess? Among the most basic modern representations of lesbianism is that of two crosses topped with two large circles intertwined with each other, two symbols of the female joined to each other. How did the female symbol originate? Its first known appearance in that context is found in the works of the Swedish botanist Carl Linnaeus. In the 18th century, he used it to represent female flowers. Linnaeus took the symbol from the Greeks, who used it to represent the metal copper, which was associated with the planet Venus. The planet was associated with the goddess Venus. Venus was the Roman incarnation of the Greek Aphrodite, and Aphrodite the Greek incarnation of Ishtar. Thus the sign that to this day represents the female, known as the Venus symbol, ultimately goes back to Ishtar, and thus the symbol for lesbianism based on the symbol of Venus likewise goes back to the goddess. The sign is, in effect, that of two Venuses, two goddesses, two Ishtars intertwined with each other. Sappho and the terrible enchantress. The modern revival of lesbianism takes inspiration from the Greek poet Sappho. Sappho led Apphiosos, a community of young women for which she served as teacher. Her sexuality is, to this day, a matter of debate, but her writings appear to indicate a romantic or erotic attraction to women. The patron deity protecting Sappho's community was the goddess Aphrodite, the Greek incarnation of Ishtar. Sappho worshipped the goddess and wrote of being intimately acquainted with her. Her poetry is filled with elements from the goddess's cult, rites, and worships. Only one of Sappho's poems still exists in its entirety. It is a prayer to Aphrodite, whom she addresses as the terrible enchantress. Prominent in Ishtar's cult were prayers to the goddess, entreating her to use her magic to alter the affections of others. That in effect was Sappho's prayer, but the object of her affection is a woman. In the poem, the goddess appears to Sappho and assures her that she will cause the woman to love her. Sappho was born on the Greek island of Lesbos. From the name of that island comes the word lesbian. Thus behind the word lesbian is the island of Lesbos. Behind Lesbos behind Sappho is Aphrodite, and behind Aphrodite is Ishtar. It all goes back to Ishtar. The violet crown goddess. It is from Sappho and the island of Lesbos as well that the colors purple and violet and from this lavender have become associated with lesbianism. Her poetry is adorned with mentions of purple or violet. It is from Sappho as well that the violet became the symbolic flower of lesbianism. She writes more than once of a woman crowned with a garland of violets. Even in this is the goddess. Aphrodite was the violet crown goddess. Thus even the colors and flowers of lesbianism went back to the ancient goddess, the incarnation of Ishtar. The double-edged axe. In the 1970s, a symbol was adopted by the emerging lesbian movement. It was the most prominent of the movement's first symbols. In 1999, the symbol was incorporated into a flag of purple that was to be used as a banner to represent the movement and lesbianism itself. The symbol was an axe with two blades, the double-edged axe, also known as the labris. Why was it chosen to be the sign of lesbianism? It goes back to ancient times. On the island of Crete, the double-edged axe was a sacred symbol of the ancient Minoan religion. The symbol was associated with women. In the days of the Roman Empire, the double-edged axe was associated with the mythological warrior woman, known as the Amazons. The double-edged axe as a symbol of women, independent of men and taking on the nature and place of men, was thus chosen as a modern symbol of lesbianism. The ancient axe became a part of gay pride parades displayed on banners, carried by those who saw themselves as heirs to the ancient Amazons. Weapon of the priestess. But the double-edged axe and its connection to the altering of gender goes back beyond the people of Greece and Crete. It is found in the writings of ancient Mesopotamia, in the city of Sumer. It appears in a hymn to the goddess. It is from an inscription we have already seen, the describing of the goddess's parades. The male prostitutes, the men parading as women, the male and female transvestites, the cross-gendered, the sound of drums, and the colored fabrics, it says this. The people of Sumer parade before you. The young men who carry hoops sing to you. The carrying of hoops was associated with women. The young men are feminized, but it goes on. The maidens are coiffed. Priestesses walk before you. They carry the sword. The young women and priestesses, on the other hand, are carrying the objects associated with men. They are the goddess women who, following in her footsteps, take on the roles of men. As the goddess brandishes a sword in battle, so do the women of her parade. But according to the account, the women brandish another object as well. They carry the double-edged axe. Hymns, banners, and spirits. So it is in an ancient hymn to the goddess that the double-edged axe makes its appearance, and the context of its appearance is that of women taking on the functions of men, and beyond that they take up the axe in the gender-crossing parade of the goddess. And now, in the modern world, the same object from Ishtar's processions was revived to serve as the symbol of lesbianism, women taking on the roles and functions of men. So the same weapon, wielded by women in the ancient world to bend the lines of gender and sexuality, now became the symbol of women in the modern world bending the line of gender and sexuality. And as gender-crossing women lifted up the double-edged axe as they marched in the goddesses' ancient gender-bending parades, now they would lift up banners emblazoned with the image of the very same axe as they marched in the modern gender-crossing parades of the revival. The women had no idea they were replaying an ancient mystery, but the spirits have their own way. We saw in Stonewall how the mythic functions of the Babylonian calendar converged to determine the exact timing of the uprising, but the mystery of timing would not end on Christopher Street. It would spread into the mainstream culture until the world's yearly cycle was imprinted by it. Yet few in the modern world could have imagined that the calendar in which they lived their lives had been changed by a mystery that went back to ancient Mesopotamia, and that was connected to mythology and the workings of the gods. To uncover the mystery, we must go back to the pagan celebrations of ancient Phoenicia and the late Latin writings of the early church, further known as Saint Jerome.